A few days after telling Talia she had a week to get out, John showed up on my doorstep. I thought he was there to help her pack up her things, but instead, he wanted to talk. I had no idea what I was in for. We sat down at the kitchen table. Talia sat across from me, looking a little too relaxed for someone who had just blown up an entire family. John started by apologizing for the scene his wife had caused on my doorstep, but then he quickly shifted to pleading with me to let Talia stay.
You can't kick her out.
He said, leaning forward with this intensity in his eyes like he was about to reveal some grand love story.
I know this whole situation looks bad, but it's more complicated than you think. Talia doesn't have anywhere else to go right now, and look, I've been trying to fix things for years.
As if that wasn't enough, he then reached across the table and gently took Talia's hand. He held it like they were some star-crossed lovers in a romance movie, not two people who had been sneaking around behind his wife's back for years. My stomach turned, but I didn't say anything, yet. John took a deep breath and launched into the story of how he and Talia met. Apparently, it all started at work. She worked for him, which made their relationship a secret from the very beginning. He described the early days like it was something out of a soap opera.
We had to keep it hidden. I didn't want to fall in love with her, but I just couldn't help it. Every day I'd walk into the office and there she'd be, and everything just felt right.
He went on about how hard it was to pretend like everything was normal when, in reality, he was falling for someone else. According to him, the hardest part was pretending he wasn't in love with Talia while still having pictures of his wife and kids on his desk.
Talia asked me to put them away.
He said, glancing over at her with a look that was almost apologetic.
But my workplace is really big on family life. They'd notice if the photos just disappeared, and I didn't want to raise any suspicions.
He rubbed his thumb over the back of Talia's hand, looking at her with the kind of affection I could hardly believe he could feel after all this mess.
I love her.
He continued, his voice softening.
She's so different from anyone I've ever met. She understands me in a way no one else ever has. She makes me feel alive.
I couldn't believe what I was hearing. This man, who had been married for years and had a wife and 3 kids, one of whom has special needs, was sitting here in my kitchen, talking about how he had fallen in love with my sister. He listed off reasons he loved her like he was trying to convince me this was all justified. Talia was fun, exciting, compassionate, and didn't judge him for feeling trapped in his marriage. He loved the way she made him feel free, like he could breathe again after years of suffocating under the weight of family obligations. He went on and on about how hard this affair had been for him, how he didn't want to be the bad guy, but he also didn't want to lose Talia.
I've been putting processes in place for years,
He said, as if leaving his wife was some business deal he had to close before he could move on. He told me the only reason he hadn't left yet was because of the health insurance his job provided for her and their kids. Apparently, she has a medical condition that means she needs expensive therapy that his insurance pays for, and she could never pay for it on her own. He would be able to keep the kids on his insurance, but if they divorced, his wife would be left with no coverage, so they had to stay married just for that.
She needs the insurance, so a divorce has been out of the question.
He explained, his voice almost pleading now.
That's the only reason I haven't left. But I swear we sleep in separate bedrooms. There's no romance, no affection. It's just a matter of time before I can finally separate from her legally.
As John spoke, I glanced over at Talia. She sat there smirking, like this entire conversation was going exactly as she'd planned. Like I was supposed to feel sorry for them, like I should understand and sympathize with their love story. He finally finished with,
I'm going to make things right. I promise you that. I'll take care of everything. You won't have to worry about my wife showing up here again.
I didn't know what to say. I was still in shock that John had turned this entire disaster into some kind of romantic epic. It was like they both expected me to nod along and say, "Oh, okay, that makes sense. It's all fine now because you're in love." But it's not fine. Nothing about this is fine. And now I'm sitting here wondering if I made a mistake by letting Talia stay. Should I have thrown her out like I initially planned? She has nowhere else to go, but after hearing all of this, I'm starting to think I've been way too lenient. Yes, John is just as guilty, if not more, but Talia knew exactly what she was doing. She knew he was married with kids, and she didn't care. And now she's sitting here, pregnant, In my house, smirking like everything's going to work out just fine for her. Did I make a mistake by letting her stay? Should I have kicked her out the moment I found out?